As much as I really enjoy hearing other people's theories about the game, mostly Liverpool fans, I don't really have much time for anyone who only watched a couple of clips of a football match and decided that they know how Liverpool's season is going to go. And obviously, we don't need to listen to those people. And of course, there were people in my own comments yesterday saying, hey, it's just a pre-season friendly. What are you worried about? And maybe the headline was a little bit misleading. I did say that AC Milan smashed Liverpool, but a scoreline of 4-2, that sounds like a bit of a smashing. But it wasn't. And we all know if we were to go through a lot of these different instances during the game, then we'd probably see some of the real positives that Liverpool are getting right now. And I think even in this starting lineup, you can see probably why Liverpool weren't in a position to be able to run through, should we say, AC Milan yesterday. Looking at this lineup, you can clearly see that that back line only has one centre-back in there. They have Stevenson, who's obviously a fantastic player. Gravenberch, who's like dropping a little bit deeper. It's a real issue for us. Joe Gomez, we obviously sold Joel Quansah. Konate is still, I think, coming back to fitness, as probably is Virgil van Dijk. But overall, you could tell yesterday that really, this not having that starting lineup of Alexis McAllister in there, Dominic Szoboszlai was fantastic, but I also thought, when he was getting forward, it did expose a little bit. The same goes for Robbo. You kind of got to manage his minutes, I think. And for Stevenson, he's not, he is, but he's not really that kind of out-and-out fullback role that we're looking for. And he's a fantastic player. If anything, I actually enjoyed him a little bit more centrally. But he's still got a long way to go. He's a young kid, and I hope he stays in the side. Of course, in that front line, there were some great players. You had Salah. I think Wirtz deserves almost his own video. He was absolutely fantastic, even though he got a 6.8, which everyone seems to be going crazy over. And equally, yesterday, it looked like a 6.6 on the rating. So I don't know what upgrades him. I think what upgrades him to a 6.8 is when they finesse the stats and they start looking a little bit deeper behind the scenes. And they basically go, oh, actually, that pass was a little bit better than we thought, or that pass, yeah. And suddenly they tick up. I won't be surprised if that ticks up even further in the coming days as they perfect these things. And then Rio Ungamoa there as well. He was great in this game. I thought he was very proactive. Obviously, only had one shot. You can see there he only had one shot in the whole game, and it was saved. There are times where I do think his decision-making in terms of when to shoot, when to pass, you think you're really going to score an incredible goal from there. But it's the kind of time that you want to do this in pre-season. I thought he was a fantastic player yesterday. I thought he opened up a lot of space for Liverpool, was really great on the overlap. And if you look at someone like Florian Wirtz, who's playing kind of just on the inside of Ungamoa and pushed Ungamoa a little bit further down the field, it's great. It worked really well for us. And you can see that floating role with these basically two hot areas for him, inside channel on the left, inside channel on the right, are pushing both those players further forward and making basically a lot of space for everyone around him. Lucas Stevenson is out really pushing out on the touchline. You could tell there's a big difference between him, and if I go down to our average positions down here, you can tell he's pretty progressed there for a player. And he would be even more averagely progressed if he didn't have to do some of this. So let me just bring it. If he didn't have to do some of the deepest lying work there, he'd probably be even further down the field and looking a little bit more like the position that we saw for our number. Well, he would be a number 30, but someone joked yesterday he'd take a number 66 in Jeremy Frimpong. Still a little bit unclear as to why Liverpool are doing the numbers like this in pre-season, as to whether we're waiting for Diaz and Nunez and everyone else to move, and maybe some other people will move their numbers in the squad, and then we'll bring those new players in. But at the moment, that leaves Florian Wirtz floating along that front line, basically playing with the number 58. Harvey Elliott was an interesting one. Harvey's obviously been linked with Spurs. He's been linked with a lot of different teams, but I think Spurs is the team where he ends up. Spent a bit of time in London already, and I think there's probably a bit of a link there in terms of family and just being quite settled. He's a guy who does like to have a bit of a social life, and that's why he's in Manchester, and as do most Liverpool players, but he's a young guy, likes to have a social life, likes to be connected to the scene, and I think he's a lovely kid, so I wish him all the best. It was interesting to watch yesterday, though, because one of those weaknesses we talked about, or I kind of spoken about and kind of worked on, is that when we drop a player a little bit deeper, they will target that, or they'll try to target that player we drop a little bit deeper. And that'll be like that 6, right? Who I think yesterday was more like Szoboszlai. You could say it was Grav, but Grav basically played a centre-back role, and then Szoboszlai played the 6, as you can see there, right? What that then brought into Harvey Elliott's game, which is normally what Szoboszlai would do, and maybe Wirtz would do a little bit more, maybe we'll look at rotating those roles as we move more players into the team. they would drop deeper, they would come and get the ball, and it basically means that they come without a marker into that space because they're overloading that space. It's like a 2-4 or a 4-2, depending on, where you're at in terms of ball progression. Now, first of all, what that does is it means that it makes a lot of space for someone like Harvey Elliott, but it also makes more space for basically a line breaker in Florian Wirtz to be able to get the ball. It pulls the centre-back out of position, someone gets in a little bit behind him, and basically Harvey Elliott is doing the running and receiving of the ball to make space for Florian Wirtz. And Liverpool will know that, and Liverpool will get better at that over time, but also other teams will get wise to that. And I think what we found was, obviously AC Milan, very wise team, set up by Max Allegri. They didn't rotate as much as Liverpool yesterday, which is basically why I think they got the edge in the game in the end. And with that, they kept their players on the field a little bit longer, the ones that were doing some of that key work, and rotated the legs. And I just don't think Liverpool, when I say the legs, I mean the players who are willing to do the running out on their wings and get in behind Liverpool. If Liverpool were so open and so easy to break on, which we're not, but frankly, I was pretty impressed by the way that Milan played in this one. I think we would play different if we were in a high-stakes situation, but that doesn't matter to Arsenal fans online. But you can see here, Harvey Elliott dropped deeper, and in these kind of areas, you can't really see that, but these kind of areas here, a little bit deeper, Harvey's receiving the ball, turning, and instantly able to find Florian Wirtz. And within 1 or 2 touches, Liverpool are having their own manufactured or synthetic counter-attack, because they're basically pushing the ball down the field super quick, and then we do it the same the other way, and suddenly they're completely on the back foot. They actually managed to do it against us a couple of times. What I did notice was, especially if we go through the goals, because I've been through that first half set of people. Let me just bring this up. Yeah, let's go through the goals one at a time, right? First of all, Rafa Leao. Great ball out. Who's their number 11? Yeah, of course, it's Christian Pulisic. And then Leao basically receives the ball, makes a run. Now, I've seen all the clips online that we've had from Arsenal fans going, yesterday Saliba wouldn't have had that. Yeah, Saliba wouldn't have had that because Saliba's a left-sided centre-back. If you're going to target anyone online, don't target Virgil van Dijk, the greatest ever centre-back in the Premier League. The greatest ever all-round centre-back as well in the Premier League, I will remind you. But he has to come over and cover on that Gravenberch side because Liverpool are basically testing yesterday not playing with both centre-backs and exposing someone like Virgil van Dijk and exposing someone like Konate to overloads in order to kind of manufacture that in a competitive environment. And I doubt you're ever going to see that in a real game. Of course, if there is coverage needed, Liverpool may end up dipping into the market, and it did kind of show me we need like a Mark Guehi type. But I'm not going to read too much into that. Now, Liverpool's second goal. Look at this for build-up, by the way. Excellent ball out to Ungamoa, and this comes all the way from the goalkeeper. Suddenly it goes back to Dom Szoboszlai, and this is kind of why I want him to open up his game a little bit more, open up that foot and just kick through it, because it's not a power strike, it's a dink. And it's such a great strike of the ball from him. It's such a lovely moment. The goalkeeper's completely caught off guard by it. He's in this half space that, again, allows him to play as a 10. But while we're talking about him as a 6, you can see him there scoring a goal as a 10. This is what Liverpool's midfield is going to be. And I think it's a lot closer to what we would have actually expected from an Arne Slot side, because we are looking at players who will rotate through the midfield. So he'll start deep, rotate up, and someone else will rotate back. And you'll see in a lot of these moves, Liverpool just need to get used to managing where players are and reading other players' games in these moments. And at the moment, we're not doing that because we aren't used to this new formation. But also, it's pre-season, and I think we've been told to go out there and attack. Pretty quickly, by the way, we saw that Liverpool were getting more into the game after Milan broke on them. And actually, you can see from this, I mean, look at this up here, the game chart. Broadly, Milan had a couple of moments, and in the beginning of the second half, they kind of started to begin to try to impose themselves a little bit. That was because of all of Liverpool's changes, but B, also, there's a couple of times here you can quite clearly see Liverpool are in control. You can clearly see the chart kind of showing that. And a lot of people talk about, well, we were better in the first half. Yeah, that's because you were distracted by Florian Wirtz and all the brilliant things he was doing. Look at how consistent that chart is in the second half and how much pressure we're realistically putting on AC Milan. It's not to say we were the better team in the game, although I do think we were the better team. It's to say, I think Milan played it perfectly. And a lot of these people making these obvious tactical observations, especially when you go up to lineups, you go down to average position, you bring in these new substitutes. Look at that. Liverpool are living and camping in that half. And look, you've got Tyler Morton between two centre-backs as the 6. You got Kostas Tsimikas as one of the other centre-backs. And then, obviously, Konate's on that side and did a really good job. But look how high that is. Look at most of his defending. And then, of course, you got Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley got quite kind of badly beaten for that third goal. I'll talk about that in a second, the Milos Kerkez. I think those two are going to have to learn to get a bit more balance. But I think also, on average, you're going to see probably our centre-back's going to be a little bit deeper, only slightly deeper. And then realistically, you've really got, probably a Szoboszlai and a McAllister ahead, or a Gravenberch and a Szoboszlai and then McAllister ahead of that, or Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Wirtz. There are so many different combinations of midfielders we can play. And frankly, I think we will see Tyler Morton sold. I think we'll probably see Trenioni loaned out. We're going to see Ryan Ungamoa probably loaned out again this season because he's not going to make it into the team to get enough minutes. We need minutes in his legs to be able to get him playing that style of football. And frankly, I think we'll probably see the same for Ben Doak, who was fine. He's a great player, but I think we know that Ben Doak is not going to get many minutes in this Liverpool team this season, especially if we bring in Isak and then we play Ekitike. We're going to need to sell someone like Doak or move him on. That's where there's one highlight for Jeremy Frimpong where he takes the ball down and just sort of runs onto it. And it's beautiful. It's a great moment. And really, he's taken up the space that Doak probably wants to take up. But what we're trying to do is teach players to play in different positions and do this rotational play and then have a couple of fixed points within the team that Liverpool can rely on to always be there. Florian was that in that first half. He was always there, always ready for the ball. Szoboszlai was rotating around that, and that allowed this almost anchor in wherever we put that anchor down, the team are playing around that. It doesn't mean he's always there, but it means there are these consistent players in those areas. Frimpong was one of those. He was always the outball over there, and then Gakpo was always the outball on the other side. And you could see the difference in Liverpool's play between those two halves. And if I bring that back here, look, you can see there again, Salah is one of those outballs. But look at Wirtz. Look at the heat where he is. He's constantly running in that danger zone, and you can just see him always picking up the space. Weirdly, it seems like such a normal thing to do, but he does it with such masterful a vision that you don't really ever notice it, but he looks so effortless on the ball. The ball moves to him and away from him so quick, and it's just so satisfying to watch. Back to those goals we conceded, though, by the way. Let's go to the first of those two. The second half ones, when they hit us in the 52nd minute, because that was probably when we were just still adjusting. You can see here, look at the ball out. They drive inside again. Weirdly, that's at Konate they're driving at there. And then the ball kind of breaks with a little bit of fortune because we're pushing backwards. Ball sort of rolls, it's past, but it rolls through to Loftus-Cheek. He slots it away quite neatly. And kind of the same, by the way, goes for Okafor. Look at this move. Out the back, again, they're looking to work it down one of the two sides. And you see they're getting behind the fullbacks. That's not going to be as available in this new season. And if it is, I think that's when alarm bells begin to go off for Liverpool. But I just don't see that happening for us in the same way. We're going to get caught one or two times this season, and that will be one of our tactical Achilles heels. But I'm doubting that that's permanently where we're seeing Liverpool. And I think as Kerkez and Frimpong and Bradley and whoever else stays, get more into it, we're going to see. This was actually a great moment. And this kind of shows why Liverpool are more than willing to push Konate down the field. This ends up being a Konate outball. After Konate started the move, it goes all the way over to one side and works all the way back. Tsimikas, Gakpo. Gakpo is then running into the box. Morton then gets it, and it goes out to Konate. And then again, from that run from Gakpo, showing his elite level of just hook-up play, but also movement. He was fantastic there, by the way. We see what goes on, and we see him as an elite level striker, I think, at Liverpool. And that's why Ekitike and Isak would be really excited to get in there. The final goal was Mamardashvili and Kerkez playing themselves into trouble. Didn't really appreciate it, didn't like it. Unsure if that happens with Alisson on the field. I think that's probably the most kind of unsure we've seen Mamardashvili, and it's probably because he's the most open. I just think Alisson looks a lot more comfortable with open field in front of him. Not many goalkeepers look as comfortable as Alisson with open field in front of him. And frankly, it was a perfect strike from Leao to beat him. It was a world-class, it was a brilliant strike to beat him. But Mamardashvili doesn't quite look as comfortable with so much open field in front of him. He looked a lot more comfortable when Liverpool were deeper. But let's see where these two goalkeepers go, what one learns from the other, and basically what Mamardashvili absorbs from Alisson, because I think Alisson's absolutely fantastic in these kind of situations. And frankly, I think Mamardashvili was caught flat-footed, and we've seen that a couple of times in a couple of the bits of analysis we've done of him, where there can be this flat-footed nature to him. He's not quite as comfortable as Alisson in those kind of areas, or quite as quick thinking, if I'm being completely honest. Alisson's a very quick thinker, and Mamardashvili is good, but again, it's not that he's not good with the ball at his feet. He's caught out in a very specific situation here, but let's just call it what it is. Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the world right now, and I know we brought in Mamardashvili, maybe to challenge him, maybe to push him, but when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that Alisson plays that weird ball out sometimes, and I get it, it goes over people's heads, but I just don't think this happens with Alisson in goal, and I know it's probably something that people are going to disagree with, but here we are. Let's just go through some of these final lineups. I thought Gakpo was fantastic. I thought Tyler Morton between the two showed his quality and showed he's probably more comfortable there than like sitting at the base of a midfield, and he's more comfortable between the two centre-backs than being just in front of them there. He's great at finding those bits of space, but I think he really needs someone alongside him who can do a bit of the running. And again, Liverpool don't quite have that yet. I'm interested to see what we do in this end of the window, how we deal with the midfield, and whether we do go out there and go for someone like a Stiller or someone like that who still hasn't had his move but is injured. And what we do, I don't think you go for an injured player because that doesn't solve many of your issues, but let's see. Immediately ahead of him, of course, were Curtis Jones and Trainioni. Jones, I actually thought he's picked out for that moment where he kind of loses his head a little bit and then can't run back fast enough. But broadly, I think he was doing the right thing in those areas. Look at him, he's all over the place here, like as in he's actually all over the place, and that's a really positive thing for us. Jones will get a lot of minutes this season because he is such a smart player. He is also homegrown, but he's a very, very smart player. And I think he really deserves a lot of kudos for being in this team for such a long time. It's a showing and a telling thing that he is such a good player for Liverpool. So I really enjoy watching a lot of what Liverpool are doing right now. And I really enjoy watching the way we're upgrading. Don't listen to anyone out there who's telling you, oh, this Liverpool side's going to get caught on the break continually this season. That's how people are going to try and catch us. And that's how I see how this is going to go this season, right? I'm glad we got this loss because, first of all, I think it gets that out of the way, like I said in my video the other day. I'm glad that we rotate plenty and we have players playing in multiple different positions. None of those were combinations that I think we're going to see, apart from maybe that 3 immediately behind Harvey Elliott, and I can't wait to see a striker in front of Wirtz. I think that's just going to be force-feeding a player, like we saw with Nunez. If Nunez is getting into those positions, imagine what Ekitike is doing. Imagine what Isak could do. There are all these different iterations of Liverpool we're going to see, and I don't think an opposition is going to know who to mark or what to mark or where to mark. And frankly, I thought Milan were very good at plugging things up yesterday and putting Liverpool in a position where basically Liverpool just, we were like, cool, hit us on the break. We know that's what's going to happen. We need our players to be able to cope with that. So here's our training for it. Go do it. That's almost what we're asking for. And it works for me. When you get 2 centre-backs together, great. When we get 2 full-backs like Frimpong or Bradley and Kirkez, fantastic. When we've got Soboslai and Grav at the base of midfield, feel much better. When we've got Wirtz at the 10, who, again, by the way, we called this out when we first signed him, could he be shifting more into the inside, enabling players on both sides? Lots of analysts disagree with this. Lots of people going, he'll never play through the middle. He's not at the head of a diamond like some people were calling out. We were not calling that out. But he is going to play in that central enabling position and float from wing to wing and enable Salah and whoever's on the other side and the other wing to float in their own way. And Gamoa wasn't really doing that. It allows them to push a little bit wider, but it also allows them to cut inside, and he will combine with them when they've got those overlapping fullbacks. It's scary. Again, not one guy needs to be scary. The combinations of people need to be scary. And there's a reason that Gamoa got his high score. There's a reason that Salah was getting into multiple positions and overplaying the ball. It's because Wirtz was enabling 2 so much, and he feels so comfortable with just giving the ball and taking the ball and giving the ball and taking the ball. And he's finally got someone who can play off in those positions. I think Soboslai is a bit more of a like floating player. Wirtz is a very consistent feeder of the ball into these players and those feet. And I just can't wait to see it keep going, to be honest, for Liverpool in the new season. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think both of these average positions are very telling of how dominant Liverpool were in the game. First in the first half, pretty much living in their half. And then secondly, again, these shapes are going to change, guys. We're not looking at formations here. We're looking at kind of people getting used to positions and used to being all over the place. And what Slot's asking them to do is really complex, and it's really smart. It's going to be really difficult to play against. It's going to be horrible, in fact. And I think we're already watching like I look at this and I just go, wow, what Champions League level football, what brilliant football are we watching here? You can already see what a slick, brilliant player he is and why Liverpool need him and want him to be in there as a bit of a brain. It's working already, and we're already a couple of games in. We're only a couple of games in already. Liverpool's next game, let's look here. We've got these are the lineups of all the games. Matches, okay. Next up, Yokohama. That's been cancelled and put... Oh, no, sorry, the timing was cancelled. Yokohama, how many days from now? What, 3 days from now? So I'll do a preview for that tomorrow. Athletic Club, then back at home with Liverpool, and then on the same day, we play them basically twice, back-to-back, with two completely different teams, like we did last season, preparing us for the 10th against Crystal Palace, which is actually a great pre-season. Be interested to see what we're playing then. And then the fascinating thing is Liverpool-Bournemouth opening day of the season, then Liverpool-Newcastle after that. Away from home. Dare we field Isak in that game? Would you boo? Anyway, I'll finish on this. There were some beautiful tributes to Diogo Jota, and I thank Rafa Leao for his brilliant tribute to him with the 2 and the 0. I thought the motif looked beautiful. I thought that the laying of the wreath from a club legend was a really meaningful moment for everyone. And obviously we're really sad not to have him here. And I understand that a lot of people are still quite confused and still emotional about that situation, and there will be some more emotional days for us. You know, the first home games, those kind of things. And the games, there are moments where I go, ooh, who can we bring on here? And my mind flicks to him. So there's so much change I think is probably going to help us. But I think that is going to stay. Am I wrong? I was told that. I heard someone say that's going to stay, the 20 design on the front there. I think that's a lovely gesture, first of all, from the Liverpool team, but also just a lovely idea. And yeah, playing with someone like that over your heart is a beautiful idea. And I'm glad that they've started fielding that. I think that I heard someone say it'll be for the whole season. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And what you know about that, because I swear a journalist said that that'll be there for all season. The next game, actually, is Yokohama, the day before Liverpool launch their new kit. So that'll be the final game that we play in our Nike deal. It's unusual that we didn't push everything just back one day just to be able to play in that new jersey, but it is what it is. Maybe we will even play in that new jersey on that day, maybe it's the other way around. It's unusual because we will be analysing that Yokohama game on the day that Liverpool are launching a new kit, and we're going to see Liverpool playing in their old kit and then a new kit. I do think there's a lot of transition, I'd say, around the club at the moment, a lot of change, and I know that's the case for a lot of teams in pre-season, and they're all dealing with that, but there's some very obvious ones for Liverpool. The kit launch, losing, obviously, a great player in there. Probably should have put him first in that list. Say that again. Diogo Jota, obviously not being in the team, is massive. You can still see that impacting the players. But the kit launch, the new players coming in, all these kind of these different formations, different ideas, different coaching staff. You know, Johnny Heitinger's not there anymore. There are a lot of different factors to factor in here, and then people gelling together. It's really great to see Salah having these beautiful, intense conversations and Ekitike bonding with everyone else and all these lovely moments. But I always feel that emptiness a little bit, or that kind of loss of Diogo Jota. And I still think the squad are kind of rationalising that. And I think what we will see over the coming weeks is a Liverpool team that are going to grow into themselves and settle a little. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below of the game. Obviously, we're not reading a huge amount into the formation. You can just read those little moments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Appreciate you guys watching this, and I'll see you in a while. Much love. Bye. Oh, Patreon down there, Discord down there, absolutely free. And of course, there's a super chat if you want to support the work we do on the channel. See you guys in a little while.